Welcome to the AfroCloud Technologies podcast, where we hope that you will learn, achieve, and advance. Visit our website at afrocloud.co.ke. And if you haven't already subscribed, please go ahead and press the subscribe button. Enjoy the podcast. Okay. Thank you and welcome to our podcast series where we hope to help businesses with addressing their challenges, their technology challenges. Our first guest today is Victor Otieno. He's the managing director of Viffa Consult. And Viffa Consult seeks to catapult individual entrepreneurs and small and medium-sized businesses to a higher level of performance and success in their businesses. And Victor, I always look forward to your emails, about, all the enlightening information that you give us. So welcome to the program.
Thank you very much for having me.
Okay, so Victor, maybe first thing you can tell us is a bit about your business before we get into the other questions.
Yeah, so I basically run a company called Viffa Consult. So basically, Viffa Consult is a startup and SME consultancy, as well as research. My main role in the company, of course, is to spearhead SME research as well as startup research, both at the farm level as well as ecosystem level, to be able to ensure that enough data is gathered for different stakeholders to make better decisions in terms of how they interact with the SME startups in Kenya and in the region.
Okay, good. Okay, so how you work a lot with the SMEs and entrepreneurs. How has the pandemic affected the way they work, the way their businesses run?
Yeah, so I think the pandemic has had different effects on different businesses based on which sector they play in vis-a-vis the effects or basically the directives that government has given, which has limited movement and customers walking into most businesses. But what I can tell you is, for instance, SMEs or businesses that are in the retail sector have really struggled, especially those who rely on importing or getting their inputs from outside of Kenya. Because of disruptions of supply chains, most of these businesses in retail have really struggled. In construction, having conversations with a couple, construction has not been affected in terms of supply of construction materials. Because at one level, at commercial level, where we are looking at big ticket ticket construction, that has stalled, but at household level, construction is still going on. So a lot of SMEs in construction, supplying sand, supplying ballast, EPC, have had brisk business. We've had people in logistics also doing well, because as much as the movement was restricted, goods were still moving. IT-based, technology-based services or SMEs have also thrived. So it depends from which lens you're looking at it. Then you can see whether you struggle or you've stalled or you've closed down.
Okay, good. And in terms of use of technology by these companies, have they now started using technology more? Are they still hoping that the pandemic will pass, or have any of them started changing how they do their business from a technology perspective?
Yeah, so we did last month. We did a technology, an SME technology adoption index. This is our second edition. Just because we also realized that even prior to the COVID, technology is something that is of interest to a lot of businesses. One thing that we need to understand that in Kenya is when you're talking about SMEs, remember we need to take cognizant that over half, or even at least 70% of these people that we are calling SMEs are informal. So when we are talking to technology, we need to look at technology adoption with that lens, or with that perspective, in the sense that it's not your .com 21st century technology, but
Yes.
is rudimentary technology in terms of having a mobile phone, having a smartphone for that matter. That can be, is a big thing. Having a tablet. Are they paying through M-Pesa? How
Yes.
are they selling their products? Are they selling on WhatsApp? Are they selling on Facebook? So at a very basic level, what we've seen based on our own studies is at least having a phone is minimum for a majority of people who are running businesses
Okay.
as small medium price entrepreneurs. So at that level, there is adoption of technology.
Okay.
Um, because of COVID now, of course, now we with the little foot traffic coming into a lot of businesses, then the mobile phone has become a very key technological tool for use or for leveraging to ensure business is better. So we've seen a lot of people, use WhatsApp, get into WhatsApp groups where they can be able to sell. There's a bit of adoption of selling through Facebook, as well as using mobile wallet, both as a store of value, as well as a place for accessing credit. So at that level, we are seeing that websites maybe not too much. I don't have the exact numbers, but very few people, very few SMEs are using websites. Most of them leverage on social media.
Okay. And with the change and starting to use, so what's the hindrance? Is it the cost of acquiring this, the technology, or is it just the know-how? There's not enough know-how around for them to move to that next level where they can leverage this technology.
So they're different depending. I think it depends with sector,
Yes.
but also size. I think the number one thing that a lot of SMEs would say is looking at the cost benefit. They can't be able to perceive the incremental benefit of adopting, because at the end of the day, they will look at it in terms of cost. So what is the incremental revenue I would get if I was to invest maybe in terms of a website, integrating payments, etc. So I think that's the biggest challenge in terms of being able to make an evaluation
Okay.
that can inform that kind of decision, or just moving in terms of that direction.
Okay.
Number two is also information. So
Hmm.
a lot of these things, especially in Africa, data is very uh, uh, disintegrated. So there's no one space where maybe you can get all this information in terms of, if I was to adopt e-commerce full scale, uh, how would that look like? Uh, are there options for me not to adopt it and take facets of it? So even the general lack of information around the same hasn't done any much justice, in terms for a majority of SMEs to make that decision. Even as you move up towards medium enterprises, then because of structures, they can be able to make that decision in a professional manner.
Okay. So so you mentioned about the data. So is it that companies have not yet started investing in this data, or the data is available, but the SMEs either don't have the know-how or the
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Actually, that's exactly what we've seen from our studies. What we are seeing is a lot of SMEs collect data. So this could be financial transactions, could be website hits, could be number of walk-in customers, and depending with the business, they are collecting data. So the challenge has been, again, because of resource constraint, the inability of leveraging this data. And even if you had that data because you are running maybe a shop, that data is in your brain. So someone maybe running a kinyozi, or someone running a grocery, they know their
Yeah.
customers, they know
Yes.
how to speak to them, but it's not systemic, it's not in a process.
Yes.
So that's now where the challenge, probably the challenge is.
Okay. So, how would you advise, given that there was the pandemic and given of what you see, how would you advise some of these businesses to start putting this in their radar and start making this change now for a better future? How do you, see how a way forward for them?
Yeah. So for me, I think what the pandemic is showing us is businesses that uh, don't create enough value are going to close. So that probably is inevitable. But even as we do that, it means that we really need to look at or relook the way we do business in terms of, not doing business in the rudimentary sense of buying to sell, but creating value by either going into agriculture or going into manufacturing. Sectors that you can be able to create value and capture that value in a more sustained way rather than just being wholesalers or retailers.
Okay. Okay. Good. Um, the other topic I wanted to go into, just to shift gears a little bit, is e-learning. So now with also with the pandemic, a lot of institutions, being schools and even businesses themselves, in the sense of colleges and everything, have been affected in this. So, what is your view right now regarding like e-learning, which is another form of technology also? Any perceptive or anything you talk about with your businesses that has come up?
Yeah, yeah. So what I've seen is
Yes.
the pandemic has created the perfect storm for accelerated technological adoption. So e-learning was one of those things that was one of those things that a lot of you know education institutions were toying around with, but they never really would never really embrace it completely. So, of course, the pandemic has really accelerated that adoption. The only challenge is it has been ad hoc, so it's not something that was in most people's even medium-term strategy. So that's something that, let's go to Zoom. We need to go to e-learning. But I think as we move forward, e-learning would be, or even technology generally, would be something that becomes an anchor in terms of strategic planning, plan development, especially for the education sector. Because even as we look at COVID, we're not seeing it. It's not something that is going away in the short to medium term. So maybe experts are saying 2 to 3 years. So it means that there has to be a paradigm in terms of how education institutions or even companies learn and leverage on knowledge and research, etc.
Okay. Do you feel like this is something like maybe like the public sector, like the government, and should be intricately involved in, getting especially schools and, putting out campaigns to help, businesses in general, and most important schools, especially the public ones, to help in getting this technology? Do you think they should play a bigger part?
Yeah, so I think they should, and I think looking at the budget policy statement, because if you're looking at technology and looking at the fundamentals of technology, we are looking at the speed and cost of internet as a catalyst for or as a foundation for any other for technology. So I think at a very high level, and this cuts across, at least look just focusing on the budget policy statement, we've seen government really putting a lot of effort in terms of building what they're calling the internet backbone across the country. So that technology, especially if you're looking at rural areas where even access to technology to internet is an issue, and even for those who are accessing it in the major cities, it's still costly. So if for that to work, it means that the cost, access and cost of technology, number one, has to go down. Then we can now talk about devices and all these other branches that would come to that. So I think at a broader level, with the investment on the internet backbone, that can enable access across board, so that you're not only talking about Nairobi, but we're talking about Mombasa, we're talking about Marsabit, Kisumu, etc.
Okay, good. So that is all I have in terms of questions. So any closing remarks or any additional general comments, you want to put out there to the SMEs or any sectors based on, technology and what you've seen from the conversations you've had?
So now I think there's going to be a shift. Number one, in terms of, at least from the demand side, in terms of the way customers behave and the trends that are going to be there, and preference, etc. But I think as an entrepreneur, your role is to find those pockets of markets, or look for, or even shift your business model to be able to better serve the future customer. So we are looking at ICT as a sector that is going to grow, both as an enabler as well as a business, as a business opportunity by itself, as well as agriculture, which is contributing highly to Kenya's GDP, but it's still rudimentary. You can be able to access or unlock value either by value addition or adoption of technology. So I think those are two sectors that we must watch for, of course, including manufacturing.
Okay. So, Victor, thank you very much. That is great advice. I'm sure a lot of businesses that listen to this will really benefit from your great knowledge. So I hope to have you sometime in the future again, and we can, discuss more points. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you very much, Steve.
Thank you for listening to our podcast. Visit our website at afrocloud.co.ke and on social media at AfroCloud Kenya. Thank you, and see you on the next podcast.